Welcome to the Milestones Podcast, where we engage, inform, and encourage parents in strategic moments in their families' lives. Whether your family is close to the Lord or far away, this conversation is for you. All right, let's go. We are in the LEAP Podcast number 1 and super excited about this next topic. It's actually brought in quite a few people. I know you're probably watching 4 of us, but there's also people here gathered in, ready to weigh in at any point. And so I want to kind of start off this conversation with just a poll the audience here. Just want to know how many of you have social media and how long have you had it? We'll go ahead and start over here with Sydney.
I have social media, but I don't have all forms of social media. I got rid of
Are you just justifying everything right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Just bragging a little bit. I don't have TikTok or Snapchat or Twitter.
Have you ever had
X.
them?
I have had them.
Yeah.
But currently I just have Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Morgan, what about you?
Okay, so yes, so I have Instagram and I've had Facebook and I've had them since I was a sophomore.
Where?
Oh, sorry, in high school. So all the way back to 2010.
I'm like the oldest person on set.
Yes. If you're watching this, you don't know Morgan. She is out of college.
I am. I'm not 14.
I was in middle school in 2010.
I actually had 2 kids by 2010.
All right,
so
next
anyway,
question. Next question.
Drake, what about you,
What,
man?
would you
What do
say
got?
because I'm old and I don't have social media?
No.
Yes, I have social media. I have Facebook and Instagram and X, Twitter. But Caleb, it's so funny because I'm older. I remember MySpace. That was before
Top
Facebook.
10, baby.
Yeah. You know, MySpace was so much more customizable. It was about the music. So I had a original MySpace account. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any social media. I haven't had it for about a year and a half. Had Facebook for a while, Instagram. I think I still have active accounts. I just hadn't got on there in a long time. And I don't think I've had anything outside of those things. Is LinkedIn, is that a...
Yeah, that's social media.
It is? Okay, yeah. Well, I think I made one of those one time just to see what it's about.
Looking for a job?
Yeah,
Caleb?
but you're also talking to somebody who I've never sent an emoji in a text in my life.
Not
Never.
one?
Not one emoji. I've also never, you know when somebody texts and then on the top you can hold it down and it gives you an extra
Love
one,
it.
a like or what.
Yeah,
I've
tap
never
back.
done that before in my life. Not planning on it, and I won't do it.
He just doesn't respond.
I only respond if I get a question. That's how that works.
Caleb seems like the person that'll get mad if somebody texts him and it's green, Android. Like, he'll be like, well, no, you know what?
They
It
still
probably
make
doesn't
Androids.
Even,
Okay, we got to get. All right, so is it okay to have TikTok? And we're going to cover more things, but I just feel like when somebody's in that 6th, 7th grade, we get that question so much. I mean, there's multiple questions we get, but that's probably one that stands out the most. Is it okay to have TikTok? Morgan, what do you tell somebody?
I think you're asking a bigger question. Is it okay to have social media? And I think when you ask the question, is it okay to have social media? I think you have to go back to you have to ask the Lord, do you want me to have this? It's really a personal conviction. I don't think social media is right or wrong. I don't think that's a simple question like that. But I think it's a good tool if you use it biblically. I think, is it building up one another? Is it building up the kingdom, or is it just building up yourself? I think about that scripture. I think it's 1 Corinthians 10 that says that everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. So I think social media at the end of the day is really a personal conviction. What is the Spirit leading you and your family to do?
I think sometimes, too, parents are leery about it because parents are terrible on social media. And they're like, man, as soon as you start this, it's just not going to end, and it's just terrible habits to form. So I think that question probably more is it just okay to have TikTok? Is it okay to have social media? That might be the bigger question people ask. I remember this, and I don't know, maybe Sydney and Draper, get y'all's opinion on this. I had a student come in. I was going into the gym and I was working out. But anyway, I went to go work out, and I remember walking in, and as soon as I walked in, a parent just said, well, there's Caleb, go ask him. And so I turned around, and the kid went and got his phone and said, hey, I typed this up for my mom. This is why I should have TikTok. And she said, here, Caleb, read that and tell me what you think. And he had spent all day writing why he should have it. And it was a paragraph. And his mom didn't want him to have it. He wrote it. She gave it to me, and I read it. And I said, yeah, that's true. I agree with that. And the mom's shocked. I said, oh, this is true. Yeah, everything he said on here is right. It's a great tool that you can use. You can reach a community that's not standing right next to you. He's told me all the things that are not a lie. That is true. He also left out the other half. And so the other half was the part I was more concerned about. So as a parent, somebody walks up to you, Draper, and says, hey, my 14-year-old wants TikTok.
Yeah.
Or maybe they even already have it on their phone.
Yeah.
And is this okay?
Yeah. Well, so that's a great question. Okay, let me unpack that a couple of ways. All right, first off, if your child comes to you and asks if they can have fill in the blank, whatever, social media, that's a great thing because they're asking.
Yeah.
Our kids are very tech savvy. They're on computers all day, every day. So kids could create an account all they want. They could create an internet-only account, what they call it, where they just, you just getting into it, TikTok, whatever, on the web browser. So if a kid is coming to you, if your child is coming to you, asking you, hey, mom, dad, can I have, that opens up a door to a conversation to have. I'll give you an example. Zoe, our oldest, she didn't have Snapchat until she got in high school. And I never forget, she did exactly the example you just said. She wrote out me a letter. She wrote out me a proposal. And she told me, she said, Dad, here's why I can have social media. I'm responsible, da-da-da-da. It was a great letter. And we had a conversation about it. And she said, and I'll never forget this, Caleb. She said, Dad, I could have downloaded the app because mom has it on her phone and we had a family account. She said, I could have went to mom's purchases and downloaded the app and bypassed asking you to approve it. But I didn't because I respected you and I wanted us to have that conversation. And based on that, I was like, you know what? You're ready.
Yeah.
Because, so it opens that door to have a deeper conversation. And so it shows that when kids come and ask their parents, man, that's a healthy level of respect there.
Yeah. Sydney, where you at?
Well, I'm no parent, so I've never had that experience.
All right, never mind. We'll keep going to the next person.
Well, I've never had that experience of like my child's come and asked me that. But when I think about specifically TikTok, and I guess you could say this for any social media, but TikTok definitely has an algorithm. And like the more that you use it, the better it gets to know you.
Yeah.
So for me as a 25-year-old, if I get on TikTok, I'm going to learn crock pot recipes. I'm going to get cleaning hacks, all kinds of tips and tricks. Whereas like a teenager in high school or middle school, they're not looking for that. I think a lot of stuff that they see on there is something like a silly dance where they may not think anything of it, but it starts off that way. And then the more that they see that, or even just
Morgan, while she's talking, would you do one of these dances while she's talking?
I'll hand that back to you, Caleb.
But I just think that, TikTok just gets to know you. And I think that's like really, Instagram's kind of gotten the same way too, just like on your feed. And so you could be sitting there, you lay your phone down and this video plays once or twice. Well, the more it plays, the more it thinks you're interested in that. And as a child who may be naive and they just are scrolling through what everyone else is looking at, they may not know. Well, then, it's teaching them things that they're not going to know. But then in my case, it's not harmful unless I'm sitting on it all hours of the day.
Proverbs 27:6, that you really see this in the social media world where, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but constant are the kisses of an enemy. And I would just say that algorithm is the kisses of the enemy. Yeah. Like it's just not going to stop kissing you. Yeah. Like it is going to constantly feed you over and over and over again with, if you use, you can use any of those things for evil. And I would just say you take one step in that direction. And I would say you're just going to constantly be kissed by evil. And it is one of those things that's attractive. You want it, you go after it. And we're like that kid that came and asked, and he had all those great points, and I agreed with him. His face lit up like, Mom, I told you this is why I should go to this church. Mm-hmm. They love it. I said, well, hey, why don't you tell her the other half? And he looked at me like, what? And there were 4 moms sitting there. And I said, hey, did you know the mass majority of kids that come sit in my office and talk to me about their addiction to porn, it started with that right there. Mm-hmm. So it was dead quiet.
Yeah.
And I would just tell every parent, hey, your kid, you give them social media, the addictions of this world will immediately start. So now some of those things, like you need to learn to coach through some of those things, and you got to walk through some of those tough moments, but it's gonna start. And so are you ready for that? If you're not ready for that, then just give them a cricket phone, that just calls, like just give them those things. I knew a kid who, great athlete, great student, very popular kid, and he just had an addiction to pornography. And so what he did was he just realized, like, I can't pick up my phone without the algorithms, without everything feeding into me. And so he went and got a phone that all you can do is call. That's all you can do is call. And if you want to send a text, you have to hit, the letter 1 to get the capital A, to get, like, it's going to be hard to send a text. And so on the back of his phone, he had taped up everybody's numbers to call. So if his girlfriend wanted to get in touch with him, she couldn't send him a pic or she couldn't talk. Like, she had to call him.
Yeah.
And everybody had to call this person. And he's a great athlete. I mean, went and played Division I baseball.
Yeah.
And he literally just talked about how free he was. I know social media makes you feel like there's freedom. I don't know. More, you probably see that probably more than anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you think about social media, like I said, it's not that it's right or wrong, it's what's wise. And I downloaded TikTok one day and I immediately deleted it because that was the first time I didn't have any algorithms or
At the
anything
beginning
yet.
of this, Morgan did not mention that she had TikTok.
Well, I had
Yeah.
it for a day.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was beneficial.
What
for
else
Pretty
is on that
sure
phone? Yeah.
Hidden
Anyways.
sins.
Yeah.
You're talking to back in 2010, my black flip phone that texted for 50 cents a text message. Did not do social media till I was in college. So, anyways,
That's okay. Sydney had a phone at 2nd grade.
Okay, well, let me explain that
Nope, we
before
ain't got
y'all
time for
start.
that. No,
Before
we-
you judge my parents, can I tell the story?
All right, sorry. No, go ahead. Morgan, I'm interrupting you.
I
I'm
won't
sorry.
tell the story.
No, I think it goes back to, is it wise? Is this for your child? You know your child best.
Yeah.
Is that going to be beneficial for their walk for the Lord, or is it not? And I think, going into, is it a potential harmful thing for them, or is it a way for them to grow? I think that's a question that you've got to ask because your student, your child best.
And to your point, it's not a one size fit all situation. It all depends on your child and your convictions as a parent on whether or not they get, fill in the blank social media. When our girls were in middle school, the program before TikTok was Musical.ly.
Right.
And TikTok bought Musical.ly, and so it exploded. But I remember the girls.
That's right, I remember that.
They wanted Musical.ly, and I was like, no, there's no reason why you should have that whatsoever. And so we would not let them have it.
And then I think it was Vine
Yep.
before
Oh,
Musical.ly.
yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
had Vine. Forgot that one.
Yeah, I remember all these. So okay, let me do a quick jump, and I probably get some help from Ryan on some of these. But okay, so how do you identify the landmines? Okay, they're like, hey, your kid's already got TikTok. They already have social media, and how do you know? Like, man, there's a problem here, and I need to address this. One, what are the landmines, and then what do you do? Is the answer just I'm gonna take your phone up? What are the steps? And so, I don't know, maybe hear from Morgan a little bit. Ryan might want to jump in on just like, okay, what are the landmines to go in? Like, for me, it's always like a kid always just is going to the room. They're going to the room,
Yep.
shutting the door. Like, it's weird in the Bible. It says, hey, if you want to learn to pray, go into your room, shut the door. Well, I guarantee you most of the students aren't going into a room, shutting the door to pray. They're going in, shutting the door to sin.
Yeah.
And so that's a landmine in my mind. It's just there's constantly not around anybody.
Yeah.
But then again, around everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when it comes to landmines, some of the ones that the Lord just kind of brought to my mind is number one, exactly what you said. Hey, when they have their phone in a public place, like don't go to your room, don't go shut the door. I know many parents that have their kids turn in their phones for the night, and that's their conviction. That is their policy. One of the best things that my parents told me growing up is we are not your friends, we are your parents. That one statement has so helped me as I've grown up. My parents are not there to please me. me. They're there to guide me, disciple me, and just shepherd me. There's a difference. And it's okay to have hard boundaries. It is your household. My parents were always very gracious. They always would tell me, we want you to mess up, but we want you to do it in our home. So they would have, pretty firm boundaries. They would go through my phone. I hated that. And as a high schooler, I hated that. But when I look back on it, I'm so glad that they did that. I'm glad that they went through my phone. I'm glad that I couldn't have my phone in my room at night. I'm glad that they had limits on these things. And I think, as I said, I didn't really have social media really until later high school, early college. But I think looking back, I'm thankful that my parents even then had limits on how much I could entertain social media in a day.
So all I'm hearing from Morgan on that was Mark Ramsey was the guy that said, hey, you guys can drink. You just have to do it here at this house. That's all I'm hearing from that comment.
So for me, as a parent with a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, it's really just their TVs and when they want to watch or play on their tablet and stuff like that. And like the big thing for kids is YouTube Kids. And YouTube Kids is the weirdest videos you've probably ever seen in your life. And, talking earlier, if you go back and watch our first episode, we talked about weird things our kids get into that you don't want to be involved with. That's one of the things I do not want to sit with and watch Tinley do. But one of the reasons she wants to come to me early church every day, she knows she gets Daddy's phone. While Daddy's doing his work, she gets my phone. And the one thing I tell her is, Tinley, you're not getting on YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
And even like YouTube, with us having a GC Kids YouTube page, I'm even leery to let my kids watch our GC YouTube page on the YouTube Smart app on their TV because I know of the advertisements or the commercials that sometimes come up in between, especially when you just click on a video. But like if you go to the actual GC Kids YouTube page, watch it, sometimes they come up. So I'm always leery for my kids themselves and the landmines that can come up, whether it's a commercial for a movie that's coming up that is R-rated or something like that, but they're sitting there watching Dude Perfect or something that has nothing to do with that at all. So for me as a parent for younger kids, I think there are still landmines out there for them to be aware of. And going back to what you were talking about earlier, I'm a MySpace guy actually earlier. We don't have to get in this story, but me and Erica met through MySpace. Peace out.
Yeah. Okay. In closing right here, I do think we should bring this conversation even more than, then as a student ministry, then why do you have these accounts? Like, why do you have social media as an account if you want my kid to get off social media? Like, the mass majority of people are probably going to watch this video on their smartphone, on YouTube. Then why have YouTube? Are you just feeding into that? And so we can get into those conversations maybe later. I would maybe rapid fire some encouragement for a family, for a parent that's probably walking through this right now. How do we encourage them and maybe give them some practical steps? Anybody?
Well, I say, one of the main ways to encourage parents that I want to encourage a parent is engagement. Man, you just got to get engaged with your kids. Communicate with them. Man, learn about these apps. Don't just take their words for it. Don't just take their word for, hey, here's the benefits of Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or whatever new app that's going to come up by the time this airs. Man, get in there and figure these things out. Look into it. See what's going on with it. Do your own research. Engage with them. Have conversations with your kids about it. I talk to my kids about the algorithm of TikTok, and and they may not understand that, but I'm like, hey, this, but just engage with your kids. They are a whole lot smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah, I think, like he said, informing yourself so that you can inform your kid. I think that, one, that creates a relationship where there's freedom to talk about those things. Like, if Zoe was struggling with something or I've been spending too much time, but I can't get off of it, like, there's that freedom for her to express that to you. Or like you said, if there's a new app that comes out, getting informed yourself on it. Just so then when your kid is maybe struggling with it, then you'll know kind of how to handle it.
Yeah. Okay. You can't expect your kid to do something you're not doing. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're constantly on your phone, you can't tell your kid to get off their phone. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes it's just like, as a parent, you got to train yourself. Like, if you're averaging 7-8 hours a day on your phone, your kid's just going to be worse than that. Mm-hmm. I think too, there's things you can do. You can turn your phone to grayscale. It's not very attractive to look at if it's on grayscale. Give yourselves, Morgan, you're talking about a timer. I mean, I've never had
Yeah,
to
a
put it
social media timer. You can put limits on your child's screen time and social media, which is super helpful.
Which, when that happens, I think it just comes up and it says, like, your time is up, okay or no? And you're just like, no. Like, I don't know how that works, but I think it's something like that. But but you can also, get rid of your charger. I mean, have one charger in your house. Like, I mean, something I did to get off my phone, I have to use Brittany's charger. So on a weekend, I'm like, I cannot look at my phone or I will not have a battery on Sunday. Like, I don't use a charger. And so, like, I have one at the office, but I don't have it anywhere else. And so that helps me out, not walking into my home on my phone. If Brittany's talking on her phone in her car, she has to stay there until she's done, and then she can come into the house. We cannot be on our phone when we come into the house. But some of the stuff that you want your kids to do, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And so this is a topic we could talk about forever, but I just want to encourage you as a parent, one, you don't have to go look outside the church to find this answer. It's here. And we want to tell you the landmines, it can be used for good and it can be used for evil as well. And so just to be smart about it. So stand strong, stand firm, and glorify the Lord in all the things that he does. So.